Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with Washington Gun Rights. If you're a gun owner in House District number 10, this is Island County and portions of Skagit and Snohomish County, take a moment to watch this brief video about the race between Democrat State Rep Clyde Shavers versus his opponent, Carrie Kennedy. Guys, everyone knows it's been a tough couple years here in Washington State in the fight to defend the Second Amendment. Inslee passed a horrific ban on AR-15s and many more firearms besides that, and we're still fighting to overturn that law in federal court. But as we are doing that, and of course the state gets to pay for their legal team at our expense using our taxpayer dollars, as we are doing this, our enemies in Olympia are proposing agenda items that would make things far worse here in Washington State. So it's critical at election time, especially in a swing seat like HD10, position number 1, that we send a message that lawmakers and politicians who vote against our freedom will pay a price at election time. Guys, we cannot tell you who to vote for in these videos. What we can do here at Washington Gun Rights is give you guys the information you have to make your own most informed decision. Before I do that, a brief programming note. Thanks to the crazy commie laws here in Washington State, Washington Gun Rights cannot boost this digital ad on social media. Other states, organizations like ours, will do videos like this, and they can micro-target in district and then boost it to make sure every gun owner has the facts. We can't do that here. We can do text, which we do, email, which we do, but we can't boost on social media. So do me a favor, tag your friends in the comment section. If you're watching us on Facebook, on X, or on YouTube, take a moment and share the link with all of your friends who care about the Second Amendment. Back to the video. In this video, we're going to begin with the challenger, Carrie Kennedy. Carrie has not been in office before, but if you go to her Facebook page and go to her website, you'll see this lady is a very patriotic gal who cares deeply about the Second Amendment. She's very clear on her website. She's a huge believer in personal freedom and responsibility, in parental rights, in keeping our state open and free. And when it comes to violent criminals, she seems to have a very novel idea, which kind of rhymes with put the freaking criminals in prison. Whereas Clyde Shavers and all the rest of the commies in Olympia want to come after us, want to demonize us as gun owners like we are somehow causing the problems. Carrie Kennedy has a very common sense approach about putting the freaking bad guys in jail. That's Carrie Kennedy, very patriotic, very pro-freedom. She doesn't hide from it at all. In fact, she's very vocal about that on her website. Go and check her out. That brings up the Democrat nominee in this case, Clyde Shavers. Now, Clyde's only been in office for 2 years, but in those 2 years, he has stabbed you in the back time and time again when it comes to the Second Amendment. A couple votes to be aware of, and then I'm going to jump down to what's coming next because, like I mentioned, if Bob Ferguson becomes the governor, the list of things they intend to do to all of us as gun owners is truly horrific. So, first, what did he vote for? Clyde Shavers was a yes vote this year on a bill to ban open carry in a growing number of public places here in Washington State. What does that mean? Well, in the Supreme Court's Heller case in 2008, and again in the Bruin case in 2022, the court referred to sensitive places that the government can restrict gun rights. And they're referring to courthouses and jails and things like that, where everyone knows you can't carry a gun. Problem is, blue state governors like Inslee and Gavin Newsom and Kathy Hochul and all over the country are now trying to redefine big portions of our states as sensitive areas, trying to use it as a loophole. So what this bill did not stop a single violent criminal here in Washington State, but it restricts where you and I can carry firearms. So you might have said to yourself, I don't care about open carry. I don't like open carry, and my response to you is, that doesn't matter, that's not the point. The point here is that Clyde Shavers is voting to make it easier for the government to come after you, to come after me for how and where we carry firearms for self-defense, while doing nothing to actually put bad guys in prison and stop the violent predators from carousing our streets. That's vote number 1. Vote number 2, Clyde Shavers was a yes vote on a new law that increases or creates penalties against you if someone breaks into your home and steals your guns. What does that look like in real life? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You're out of town with your family, vacation, traveling for work, whatever. You come home, your back door has been kicked in, you arrive, you get back home late at night. That's what you see. So immediately you have a couple questions. Number one, is my home even secure? Is there a bad guy in there right now who might want to harm my family? You have to deal with that. You have to figure out how to secure your home again, how to fix the front door, how to replace the door frame. Again, usually at night after you got home from a long trip, you have to call the insurance company because your firearms have been stolen. And amidst all of this chaos, Clyde Shavers wants to make it a crime for you to not call the police fast enough. Now, would most of us call the cops? Of course we're going to call the cops. But again, if you don't do it in Clyde Shavers' timeline, you're the bad guy. So while he does nothing, literally nothing to go after violent criminals, he votes to make it a crime for you and I to forget to call the police fast enough to suit his purposes. It's a complete slap in the face of every law-abiding person in Washington state. Number three, Clyde was a yes vote on a bill this year to require all firearm sales to be conducted under a videotape surveillance system. Sounds like a not that big of a deal, right? That's actually not the case. The law was obscenely detailed, how many frames per second, what quality of film, how the storage requirements and all these things, which make it very hard for your local mom and pop gun store to stay open. These stores are already being demonized for the crime problem in Washington state, like somehow it's their fault that violent people rape, kill, and rob their way across our big cities. And now Clyde votes to make it harder for them to stay in business, which of course makes it harder for you and I to find a place to buy a firearm by giving these ridiculous tape requirements for sales. Again, no one's taping violent criminals when they go and acquire guns. No one's taping violent criminals when they're robbing and raping and killing citizens in Washington state. But Clyde Shavers wants to come after you and me and the dealers that we frequent if these transactions are not conducted on a certain definition videotape quality. It's absurd. Clyde Shavers is endorsed by basically every gun control organization in Washington state. And when those gun control organizations make those endorsements, that means they expect to get their return on investment down the road. And what does that look like here in Washington state? It's very ugly stuff. Number one, based on all of this, we believe Clyde Shavers would happily vote for a new ammo registration law here in Washington state. California already has done this. New York has already done this. They're both in federal court over it right now. But we're being told this law, or this bill, will be fast-tracked next session to require every round of ammo that you and I purchase to be registered with the state of Washington. It is absolutely absurd stuff. And if you think about this, it makes you either laugh or cry or get pretty torqued off, because these are the same leftist politicians who have aided Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in their open borders policy, who have let 10, 11 million people stream into our country, foreign nationals who we have no idea who they are. We can't do background checks. We can't ask their source governments about their records. They're in our country. The DHS announced just a month ago that they have what's called a non-detained docket with tens of thousands of people, foreign nationals, convicted by our courts who have been ordered to be deported in lieu of incarceration who have not yet been deported. On that list are thousands of convicted murderers and convicted rapists convicted by our courts. They're not in jail. They haven't been deported. They're walking freely in our country, on our sidewalks, in our cities, and driving down our streets. That is the level of hatred that the left has towards law-abiding folks like you and me. And in that context, Clyde Shavers now wants to register not those criminals, not deport those violent predators. He wants to register you and every round of ammo you buy. It is absolutely preposterous. And finally, this is the big one. This is the worst of all. Clyde Shavers would certainly back a mental health exam for gun owners. Now, you may be asking yourself, man, that seems insane. No one's going to do that. That's wrong. Unfortunately, that's wrong. This is already moving right now in other blue states. New York, for example, is pushing this bill right now that would require gun owners to submit to an exam with some purple-haired, state-sponsored, state-approved of mental health professional, whatever that phrase even means these days. And you'd have to get that person's permission to buy a gun. And if you tell that person, you know what, I think that Bob Ferguson is a freaking commie tyrant. I think Jay Inslee is a clown. I love the Second Amendment. I love our founding fathers. I love our freedom. If you talk like that, the chance of you getting denied your permit from the state is very, very high. Again, this is happening right now in other states in this country, and we're being told it's definitely going to be coming here. And if you failed that bogus exam, you can't buy any firearms. This is exactly what the tyrants of last century did to their political opposition all over the globe. They deemed them mentally unfit, and they did horrible things to them. It's coming again in a different form right now in this country. It's terrible stuff. Very simple. Clyde Shavers is a crazy radical leftist. And it's these kind of people, frankly, who probably need a mental health check, but instead they're going to do it to you and they're going to do it to me. So if you're a voter in this district, do not forget Clyde Shavers, 2 years in Olympia, stabbing you in the back, voting against your gun rights, and voting to make it easier for violent predators to inflict their damage on our state and on our society. And don't forget Carrie Kennedy, a very strong statement in support of the Second Amendment, of freedom in general, of common sense, a sharp contrast between her and Clyde Shavers. Guys, don't forget, we cannot boost this video on social media. We are counting on you guys to help get the word out by tagging your friends in the comments section or sharing this video on your own social media platforms to help us get the word out. Don't forget, go vote Tuesday, November 5. Storm the polls, bring some friends, and send a message that Washington State still stands for freedom.